Hello, 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 and welcome to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is your host, Lizzabitty. I want to thank you for joining us today. We have a special treat for you. A special treat. Going to have a great conversation today, and I am going to bring in my guests shortly. But before we get started, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Secondly, like this video while it's happening. Third, at the end of this video, if you're catching the replay, please be sure to watch the Black Boys documentary. All right. Hello, Zenobia Ridley. Thank you for joining us. So we will bring our guest in today. All right. Hello, hello, hello. How are you, Coral?
Wonderful, wonderful. Good morning.
Well, it's evening for me, but yes, good morning for you.
Good morning for me. Good evening for you.
Right. So, everyone, we are in, of course, two different time zones here. So this is why we're having this banter. Hello, Rohan Sanda. Salam alaikum. So today's topic is single mother decides to move to Alkebulan. And for those people who are new here, Alkebulan is the original word for Africa. Okay? Just an FYI there. So we're going to let her introduce herself, tell us where she actually is now, and then we're going to jump right into the conversation. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi, everybody. I'm Coral of Coral and Kids Repats, and I am currently residing in the Houston, Texas area. I'm originally from Michigan, and I'm looking to relocate myself and my family to West Africa very soon here.
And so how many children are you taking with you?
I'm taking my 3 daughters, and all of them are grade school age, 16, 10, and 11. And everybody's excited to go. I shouldn't say everybody. My 16-year-old is not as on board as the other two, but yes, we're getting ready to make that move very shortly here.
So tell us then, how did you decide to come about making this decision for this is an undertaking, a drastic move, especially for a single mother. Tell us about that. Hello, Uncle Jarvis.
Okay. So it wasn't an easy decision to make. Like I said, I'm in Texas. I'm originally from Michigan. Background is in IT. Been doing that for about 20 years. Come from a family of educators. I've also taught online school, for college level MBA courses. And I've always had the desire to give my children an experience of international experience. I've traveled just in working and being a project manager. I'm an IT project manager. And so I've always traveled just for work, but I've wanted my children to have that experience as well. And as being a homeowner in the US multiple times, I've had experiences where I felt like, I want to be able to leave something for my children. I want to be able to leave them land. I want to be able to leave them property, housing, businesses, and things of that nature. And because I am a single mom, it's very difficult in the US, not impossible, but extremely difficult to have those type of assets that you're wanting to do on a single person's income. You're kind of working to survive, not really working to thrive and have savings and things. Plus, a lot of the brainwashing in the education system here, they don't teach us about our own history. We have to teach our own children about our history, which I have no problem with that. With teaching my children their history, but I definitely want them to embrace their culture, love who they are, love the skin that they're in, and that's not something that's embraced in the United States. So I was just looking for some other alternatives to being able to give them some advantages in life that I did not have.
So did you make a conscious decision about this? Let's say 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a year ago. Yes.
I would say I had been thinking about it because with working abroad And with working domestically, I've not had the fear of travel, so I don't have that bug. But seeing how other cultures live and understanding that there's a different way of life than a lot of the racism, oppression, and suppression that we're dealing with in the United States, first being African American and then being female. I have all daughters. And there's a concern with always running into the ceiling. I wouldn't call it a glass; I'd call it a titanium ceiling, because they don't want to pay you the same thing that they would pay a non-minority. They don't want to respect your knowledge or confidence. All of those things are negatives here, um, in a lot of aspects, in education, in business. And I really want them to go somewhere where they can thrive and see that, you can be proud of the skin that you're in. You can also be business owners. You can also be landowners. And it's not an anomaly, right? And an
Yes.
exception. You don't have to
Yes.
register to be a minority owned business. You just, if you're good at what you do, whether it's a service or a good, you're good at what you do and you offer that service or good, and that's what you're paid for. It's I'm definitely trying to do something different than what the framework that I grew up in. Learn to work, go to school, get an education, be an employee. I'm teaching them to be entrepreneurs. And
It's
I love
interesting.
that culture.
I'm sorry. Hello to the Limblick family. And we have a commenter here that says, you're safer overseas than in the States. Well, definitely,
Very
Rohan.
true.
We know this. We know
Yes.
this. Especially, even though it's interesting to this particular point, in that a lot of, so let's say our Caucasian counterparts, a lot of them
Mm-hmm.
send their children in summertime to Europe. However, where we as Blacks in the diaspora, the majority of us do not send our children back to Alkebulan to get that experience. It's a
Not at all.
complete direct opposite correlation to how we nurture our children for that cultural ancestral experience. Wouldn't you say so?
Yes, and I think it's very necessary that we start doing that and incorporating that, because when we were brought over here through slavery, and basically we've been cut off from our homeland and from our culture and from any faith that we've practiced previously, any dialects or tongues that we spoke previously. They pretty much have robbed us of our identity, and then they teach what they want us to know as their version of who we are. And our children are lost. And I don't think that there's any way that we can have them understand who they truly are unless they are around us. We're going to have to teach us and embrace our own children's future and let them know their value in life, because here we were never meant to be successful here. I just don't believe that that's how America is set up.
It's
It's
not.
basically set up for us to be here to help establish, but never to own or prosper. And that's not how I want my children to grow up.
I totally understand, which is why when you think about how our system is set up, you have to constantly make amendments to the Constitution to fit the paradigm to include
Right,
persons of melanated descent, i.e., all these voting rights, civil rights, and all of this
right,
stuff, because it was never set up and designed for people
right.
that
Even
look
with
like you and I.
academics, with us being able to be educated equally, it's or have equal opportunities for education. It's just it's not going to ever happen. I don't see it ever happening. I don't care how many elections we go through, bills we pass, whatever it is that we're doing is not working. And so it's time to try something new.
I totally agree, which moves us into our next topic. When you decided to make your journey, how did you choose West Africa? And can you tell us which country you're actually repatriating to?
Okay, so I chose West Africa because in doing my research, I was looking into just different regions of Africa. And West Africa for me seemed like I guess that just spoke to my spirit the most. The Smiling Coast is where I felt most comfortable, feeling like they speak our language, even though they speak multiple languages. I don't
Mhm.
speak Tree or Wolof or any other languages, because here, in America, you learn English and it's an option or an election to learn another language. But in other countries, these children are growing up with multiple dialects, for being able to speak multiple languages, and that's again something I would like my children to be exposed to. But in choosing West Africa, to your point, I like to be able to go somewhere where people can understand me and I can understand them when I initially go over there. And especially with working and doing business, I plan on doing business in my same wheelhouse when I get over to West Africa. And so some of the people that I'm going to be working with have already put boots on the ground in the country that I've selected. So I was looking between Ghana and Gambia as the primary two countries that I settled on when I was mainly just doing research. I had thought about going to Gambia. Lots of things that I love about it. Just the people, the beauty of the land, being close to the water. I've always loved being really close to water. And so that was one of the locations. But then Ghana, loved how much more advanced they are infrastructure wise, technology wise, and being able to transition my skill set in IT and project management. I felt like I might have a less of, I wouldn't call it a setback, but less transitional, pretty much like being able to go over there
It
and
would be
get started
smoother
in
for you
business a
to.
lot
Gotcha.
easier.
Hmm.
Because I'm thinking Gambia is a little bit further behind than Ghana in technology, and therefore I was thinking that if I was going to go into business and go into IT, I understand it in the West, we working on things a little further along. They're even working on in West Africa, period. But the gap isn't as far for Ghana as it is for Gambia. So I started looking at going to Ghana. But with all of my research and trying to flight and finding a home and just all of the logistics involved with the whole repatriation process, I decided to go ahead and move to the Gambia. So we're going to be repatriating to the Gambia. And I have a team of people that I'm working with over there that as soon as we arrive, we're like right to working with relocate what do they call it? Investment Relocate Africa with
Okay.
Quasi Boyd's team. Hmm.
So everyone in the chat, Coral, is saying that it would have been easy for you to have assimilated in Ghana. I'm reading some of these comments, and it's so like
Oh
we have
yes. Oh,
my
I already
brother
know. We got
Prince
some
Quasi
Team
here,
Ghana people on the call, I'm pretty sure.
and then we have my sister Sonovia here. You see, you see.
Hey, Synovia.
So I totally
Hey.
understand. There's 54 countries, and we each have to determine which is right for us. All of our personalities are different. Our situations are different. Um, but I am biased, just as Quasi and Sonovia. So I will say yes, you should have picked Ghana, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you this. Can you talk a little bit about what your plans are in terms of how you will sustain yourself and your children when you actually get to the Gambia?
Yes. So, in working with the team that I mentioned, Tracy, they already have some things in place where they're assisting who are repatriating or people just wanting to do vacant rentals and things of that nature. And they had reached out to me and asked me, could I assist, on IT level, as well as some other projects that they have going on that I have a skill set that I'm going to be assisting them with. But in it, including, outside of that, I do also want to assist with people who are having issues repatriating with children with special needs. I have a child that has an IEP. I am homeschooling my children right now. And so that is an area when I was doing my research that I didn't see a lot of coverage on, with people talking about trying to assist with helping children with education with special needs. There are not a lot of schools in Ghana or Gambia that cater to that market of people. And so I wanted to be able to use my channel to share our repatriation journey, as well as what is that like homeschooling, children of different high school, junior high, and elementary level students abroad. Okay. And so that's something that I hope that I can offer that's a little bit different than what is being offered on other channels, to be able to help people see how I'm able to navigate that.
So I will say this to you. As you know, the most industrialized nation on the continent is South Africa. However, with South
Mm-hmm.
Africa and some of the other southern nations, a lot of them mirror the U.S. Now, I'm not going to get into that right now, okay? Because I've been to all of them, so I'm very versed in that conversation. So I will say this as it pertains to special needs children, because for many of you out there in YouTube land and beyond, I taught special needs for 10 years. That was my first profession. I've changed careers 3 times. So yes, I am a chameleon. You put me there, I'll become that. That's how I am.
Right.
I'm very dynamic. But just in terms of special needs children, I understand totally where you're coming from. If you also remember the channel, I don't know if you ever followed them, Native Born. They had a
Yes, I
special
follow.
needs child as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of the hiccups that they endured in their time in Ghana as well. So I'm not oblivious to that situation. So I totally understand. That definitely could help a lot of potential parents who are repatriating, and how they are actually going to navigate having a special needs child in a foreign country, because you have to think about all of the support systems that you have in the U.S. You are not going to have those secondary and supplemental services that you are normally used to, regardless of what your child's exceptionality is. So you being hands-on is very, very important for your child's needs to get them met and all that good stuff. So I totally understand. And that could actually open up the doors for other parents, like you said, who can see, okay, wow, this is viable.
Yeah.
This is very
Let them know
viable
they can do it.
and doable for me and my family. So I think that would be a great resource for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's the plan.
How far away are you in terms of getting ready to leave? You want to say 2 weeks, 1 month?
We're very close. We're very close.
You're very
This month.
close.
This
Okay.
month. We're leaving this month. We're leaving in a few weeks. And that's been a debacle. Just trying to book tickets, trying to book housing, trying to book shipping containers, trying to book people for delivering shipping containers, all of the things that go involved with a repatriation process, whether you're moving for a business or just because you're retiring. You're going to run into some of these challenges, or at least things on your to-do list that you have to achieve and accomplish. And you may not have known that there are so many levels to the process. If you're doing a domestic move, you may think, well, I'll get a rental truck or something to move from point A to point B. But if you're going to be moving abroad, there's a lot of different entities that you have to engage with to move. So with us being able to plan our trip to repatriate, You would think you bought your plane ticket. It matters who you buy your plane ticket from, not going through a third party agency. I had that issue happen with trying to book flights through things like how you book domestic travel, which I've never typically had an issue with. I've traveled and worked and traveled. Typically, when you're traveling for business, they're usually doing the business booking of the travel. And so when you're
Yes,
doing
which is
this for
different.
yourself
Yes.
and you're is totally different. You can use those services like your Expedias or Travelocity or Cheapo tickets and all of those things to look and find the cost of your tickets, but I wouldn't use them to actually book the ticket, because if there are any changes to your ticket, you're going to run into a problem trying to get resolution through third parties, and it is a nightmare. So I definitely have learned that lesson in going through this repatriation planning process.
It's interesting that you bring that up because Living My Best Life in Ghana did a video on that. I want to say maybe, was it last week or maybe it was a week and a half ago? But they were talking about that issue as well because people were having flights and things canceled. So there definitely, of course, is truth in that. And
Mhm.
it's interesting that, we got some firsthand experience here on the camera. So why don't
Oh,
you
yeah.
tell us about, since you're so close, give us some insight into your shipping and those that have aided you in shipping. And keep in mind, everyone in YouTube land, she
Okay.
lives in a port city. What does that mean? That means there is a shipping, a port where actual ships, barges, and all of that stuff comes in. So, of course, it's much easier than someone who is not in a city like that and has to move their stuff, let's say, from Missouri to Georgia or etc. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So shipping. That's a whole thing. First and foremost, there's multiple ways of doing shipping, whether you're going to pick a agent that does the shipping and the handling of your customs of your things, whether your agent has the capability to have the shipping container dropped at your house, or whether you have to take your property to the destination where the container is going to be loaded. There are different types of companies that offer these different types of services. So you need to know which service is going to best fit for you, whether you have the ability to load up your property on, say, maybe a U-Haul and drive it to the destination where your truck is, your container is going to be loaded, or whether you don't have that ability and maybe you need the container dropped at your property, and then you have to pay a company that is going to load it for you if your family is not able to be skilled at loading. And I would say do the work of hiring someone to do this loading, because moving abroad internationally is not the same as domestic moving. You can't just load your U-Haul and the same way that you would load a shipping container. Everything has to be shrink wrapped. You have to secure things to the wall so that they don't fall down while shipping in the container, because the seas can get rough when your shipping container is on the vessel that's going to be transporting your things from wherever to your destination. So you're wanting to have a professional company go ahead and do that for you if you don't in-house have somebody that knows how to do that, right? That's the
Okay.
first thing. Secondly is identifying a company that is available to ship to the destinations that you're trying to ship to, right? Once you find that person and the quotes, whether it's a 20-footer or whether it's a 40-foot tank, they only come in those two sizes, although a 40-footer could be a high cube or a standard, and it has to be a seaworthy type of cube. Some people will even rent or purchase a container. There is a way that I learned after going through the rental process with trying to find a company to ship a container. I didn't know that you could purchase containers also and then pay as an owner of a container to have your personal container shipped already loaded, right? So these
Now,
are options that you have.
right. Now, when you purchase your own container, you do have to get your container certified to be what they call seaworthy, which is an additional cost.
Hmm.
So those of you who are thinking about that,
Yeah.
be sure that you take care of that because they will not ship your stuff. So you have to get a what they call a seaworthy
Right.
certification on your container. All right, go ahead.
Hmm. Okay. Then there's like multi-ship. Sometimes people say, well, I'm not shipping by myself. I'm sharing a container with someone else. And you can do that. But typically there's only one person's name going to be on the manifest. And
Hmm.
so if you find one to co-ship with, You want to make sure that they're available to get their things to clear customs when it comes time, because one person is getting charged for the cost of clearing customs, and they don't really care whose stuff is in there. They're not going to do a multi-custom clearance. It's just going to be for the container in its entirety. And then you and that person that you're co-shipping with will be resolving, that split on how that's going to be handled, whether you use the third or half of the container or what have you. But the customs agent isn't getting into all of that. When you're talking about shipping household goods as well as shipping vehicles, commercial vehicles can't ship in the same type of container as a vehicle, as a container for household goods. I learned that because I was looking to co-ship with someone who has some commercial vehicles. And with doing that, they were saying, well, you can put non-commercial vehicles in a shipping container with residential goods, but you can't put a commercial vehicle in it. That may have to go to what they called ro-ro, which is roll on, roll off. And I was like, okay, or another type of enclosed shipping, but not the same type of container as what I'm using for my household goods. I also learned that you can't ship cars that are over 10 years. Like I had a cash car that I had planned on bringing with me, and found out that if it's greater than 10 years, for every year that it's older than 10 years, you have to pay a fee for that vehicle. And that number of what that fee is varies from country to country. The rules and regulations vary from country to country on basically how that process will work. But you want to be very careful not to have vehicles older than 10 years within your shipping container, because you could run the risk of getting your container seized if you're not able to pay those fines and fees for being able to clear that older vehicle. And a lot of won't tell you that. They will take your information, will take your title and put all that stuff in the container, and you'll find out when you get to your destination that you cannot clear it through customs
Mm.
because it's a obscene amount of money, far more valuable than the value of the vehicle. And if you can't pay it all at once, then you can't get anything out the container. And so
That is
all of these are
Mhm.
learning lessons with shipping that you find out about once you're starting to ask the questions of what specifically are you shipping? Are you shipping by yourself? Are you shipping with someone else? You need to know these things.
So, can you tell us, did anyone help you in terms of, let's say, maneuvering and finding the actual company to aid you with shipping? Did you get any assistance from anyone, or was it more
Yes,
trial by error? Okay, go ahead.
it was both. It was definitely both. I think I jumped into a live stream with Wonamaya, and just so happened to think he was live streaming. He was in Ghana, and he was saying that he was going to take a trip to Nigeria, and he was asking people in the live stream about who he should interview and companies that he should interview. And then he opened up the floor to people who had questions and wanted to showcase their business or ask questions about repatriating. And I just jumped in there and said, hey, I'm looking for a shipping company. And he gave me a referral. Ended up not going with that exact referral, but that person that he put me in touch with was a great contact and great resource, and was able to educate me on some things in regards to how items are being shipped, whether they're being, no matter what country over in Africa. And so that was very helpful. And then through trial and error, just getting online and looking for shipping companies that go to that destination that I'm looking at and what their fees are. Like you said, I'm in a port city, so there are a lot of companies here that you can reach out to and just ask questions about. Some of them will be higher than others. Some of them include, picking up the items from your house as part of their shipping estimate. Others do not. You'll be responsible for getting it to their warehouse, but you just kind of have to go by trial and error in some cases. And so the company that I did end up going with, I found through another referral. Quasi Boyd's team reached out to me. Mr. G, I think they call him Gibi Naija, reached out to me and gave me a contact for a resource that I ended up going with. And that resource was phenomenal. He was able to give me multiple estimates for multiple ship lines that he works with. He sent the estimate for that container to be picked up from my property here in the Houston, Texas area, for any one of those to have responded with whatever rate was best for me. and that the date and the time frame for them to be able to pick it up in time for my items to be able to ship this month. And so we were able to find someone to bring the container and pick it back up, as well as find a shipping line that was able to go to my destination. And he even could help you with finding a clearing agent. So he was
Nice.
kind of a one-stop shop, all in one location. And sometimes you can find that, oftentimes you not. Usually the shipping company only does port to port. And what that means is from the port they're picking it up. So for here, it will be Port of Houston, and to the destination. For that will be Tema Port, or for the Gambia, that would be Banjul Port. And so when they're doing port to port, they usually give you a quote for going from port to port. But if you need it picked up from your property, that's extra money. They have to pay the driver to bring the container and return to pick up. And then when it gets to your destination, if you want that container delivered, your clearing agent sometimes will include that in their fee. They may be able to
Mhm.
assist you with clearing your items and getting the container delivered, which I believe you have, and depending on the ship line, something like 4 days to up to maybe 14 days to have the container and have to return it back to the port. So all of these logistics are things that you have to negotiate, and identify before sending your things over. It's not just put it in a container, it gets over there, and then you're unloading at the port. You must find out how you're going to get your things from port to your home destination where you're going to be unloading. And sometimes your clearing agent can offer that service. They all don't, but some do.
Okay. We have a comment that's on the screen from Maki Dada, and she says, I wonder if it's cheaper to just leave my car here and purchase one when we get to Ghana. Um,
Okay.
so I would say to you, I'll let Coral speak as well, but I would say to you, it's going to depend
Okay.
on, of course, several factors. And one of the things that she mentioned is the age. Okay.
Yeah, let's
Typically
talk about
in
that.
Ghana, the age as well as the engine size determines the fee. So
Right.
if you have a V8, be expected to pay a lot of
More
currency
money.
on a V8. Okay.
More money.
So,
Yes,
and
much
it's
more.
different for, of course, commercial types of vehicles. So it's different, but I would say you'd have to
Yep.
do your research to determine, get an idea as to how much it's going to charge. How much the fee is possibly going to be, Maki Dada. Okay. So you mentioned that you actually had some help from Quasi Boyd, as well as getting a contact from Walter Maya. Even though you didn't use him, you didn't utilize him. What you're saying is it was still some good information and, let's say, food for
Yes.
thought for you to
It's
have.
it's a learning lesson. It's definitely something in my research that I'm kind of documenting. So on my page, like I said, my page is for helping people to repatriate, letting them know you can do this. Okay. I am a single parent, but regardless of whether you're moving with a family, whether you're moving by yourself, this is an undertaking to take on. And it helps when you have people that are letting you know and leaving little breadcrumbs along the way, so you don't have to go through some of the hiccups that we went through with going through the process, like the booking of airline tickets. Don't book through third party, book direct. With booking shipping, ask questions. What's contained? If you need to know the dimensions, ask whether, within the quote, if it's included with dropping the container at your property, or how you have to get the items to them, because they don't know that you don't already know this, right? So don't make any assumptions when you're talking to them. Ask specifically for exactly for the type of move that you're trying to do. Because even if you have a container delivered, there may be a fee for the chassis rental for the container to sit on when it's at your property. They will drop the container at your house, but the container is on wheels on a chassis. And
That's
when they
correct.
bring the container, that chassis has a daily rental fee. That's not included in your container fee. That's separate. It's a whole nother entity. Like I said, there are a lot of entities that get involved with this whole entire end-to-end shipping process. So
So it
I've
sounds
learned.
like, Coral, we're in the wrong business.
Yes, and the funny thing is, like, I have a background in logistics and supply chain. I'm from Michigan, And
Right.
so basically, that's where the automotive capital is. And this is even still new to me. And that's another port too.
Of
Michigan
course.
is off the
We
water
have a
too.
question.
So it's
I'm
like,
sorry, Coral. We have
go
a
ahead.
question here for you that's on the screen that says, can you give us some prices or estimated prices in terms of your container, the shipping and all that? Can you give a range or
Okay.
something like that? Remember, this will
Yeah,
be coming
I
out of
can.
Houston, Texas, the Houston
I
port.
can, but don't be married to these quotes that I'm about to tell you, because
That's a
you're
disclaimer.
gonna run into. Yes, so here's the disclaimer, and I'll preface it by saying this. I am a woman with an American accent because I've been born and raised here in America. When you're dealing with people and negotiating shipping containers, as soon as they hear your voice and they hear an American accent, the games begin with trying to up the price on what they're going to charge you for a shipping container. Because if you're not from the motherland, or you're not speaking in a dialect that sounds like you're from the motherland, as a native born in the motherland, they will try and take advantage. And that's something that I've dealt with multiple times. And so the quote that you would get might be different from someone sitting next to you that just called and they were speaking in the native tongue, um, versus my American voice asking for the same estimate for the same type of container, high cube, 40-foot container. They may tell me 5,500 and tell somebody else 3,500. It really just depends on who that can talk to them and negotiate that price. And that's, I mean, a range of what I've heard, anywhere from about 3,000 to just under 6,000 for the container. Not all those extras with renting the chassis, not getting it to the destination of where you're loading, or not bringing it to your property and not unloading it for you. That's literally from port to port. So if you're asking about a range for a 40-foot container, on average about 5K. That's the medium number that I've been hearing. The 20-footers have been around 3,700. But I'll preface that by saying this. October, November, December are the months where people are beginning to pack and travel for holiday travel back to the motherland to go visit. And so prices can go up because of that. So it really just depends on when you're shipping and where you're shipping. Some destinations are more expensive. Like, it's more expensive to ship to the Gambia than it is to Ghana. And I believe that's because less uh, ships are going to the Gambia frequently as they do for Ghana. Ghana probably has, like, every week they're having a lot of ships coming in, but Gambia is less, maybe a few a month. And so because of that, and I'm saying very few. And so because of that, they charge a little bit more for getting a container that's going to the destination for Gambia. Same thing with flights. When you're booking your
Mhm.
flights, Ghana has a lot more available flights than the Gambia. And so
Mhm.
you may have to pay a little bit more depending on what location you're going to go to. Again, all of this with part of your research on what country you're going to go to, the container price is going to fluctuate. So I don't want anyone to get hard code married to a price, because it really depends on where you're going and exactly how you're trying to ship. If you're wanting the container delivered to you, which is a little bit more to pay the driver to come drop it and pick it back up, versus doing a live load where the driver will come and sit. They give you about 2 hours to load, which nobody's going to get done in 2 hours. And then they start billing you an hourly rate after 2 hours, right? Because they'll negotiate that when you ask for a container to be delivered. They'll say, oh, yeah, this is your quote, and it includes 2 hours for live load. And what you need to stop and ask is,
Well, that
how
makes
much time can I get to load if I need 5 hours or more?
that makes sense because again, time is money. I wanted to read a few comments
Mm-hmm.
here. First, we got one here from Rohan Sundar, and he was saying he doesn't know about Ghana and the Gambia, but in Tunisia, equipment rental is very sought after here. Um, Mr. Sundar, that is on the entire continent, especially on landlocked countries. Just an FYI for you folks out there, okay? And Maki Dada mentioned about her car, that if it's more than 5K to ship, she just buy another. That's in that situation, I would agree, uh, Maki Dada, like what Prince Kwesi said, only because now if you were shipping a 4x4 that could pull trailers, I wouldn't do that. But since you have a common car, I would. So depending on special how special the vehicle is, like if you had a dually, ship that, something like that, because you that can be used in a multitude of
Right. But
ways.
sedans
Uh,
and things of that nature, you probably can get over there. Like you're saying, a sedan is something that you can buy, once you get over there. But if you have a specialty vehicle, or like me, if I was going to be shipping a truck or something, or a pickup truck, or an SUV where I feel like I need something large for my family, you're going to pay a lot for a V8. You're going to pay for the size, the
correct.
liters of the tank. They're going to ask you things like that when you're shipping. If you're bringing a vehicle, what's the engine size? What's the tank size? Because that also is how they determine how much you're going to have to pay in duty and
Right.
taxes when they get it over there too. They need that information.
And they can get that a lot of the information once they plug in your VIN number. We have a question here from Lim Blig
Yep.
says, who are the companies you recommend and are they African owned? Go ahead, Coral.
I recommend, and yes, one of the driver who picked up my container is a black owned company, Roseway Transport. He's here
Awesome.
in the
You see
Houston,
that?
Texas area.
B.O.B. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll leave his information so that she can post it at the bottom of this. Actually, I've already sent it. I sent it ahead of time. Yes. So
Okay, I'll
Roseway
put it in the
Transport
comment
is
section.
who picked up my items, and he's here located in the Houston, Texas area. But the company that referred me to him, because remember I told you I started with Quasi's team. They put me in touch with another black owner. I think is his business is Johnson's LLC. I'll get that information to you as well if I haven't, so that I can make sure
Okay.
that you have it. But yes, my shipper, black owned, and the guy who picked up the container, black owned, and I know my shipper for a fact ships anywhere in Africa. So he's a really good resource, and I really appreciate that he wasn't playing the games that a lot of the shipping people were. If you have an American accent and if you're a woman, okay, they assume it's sort of like the same thing with mechanics. The little the thing that happens with a lot of women going to go get a vehicle fixed on their own, and they assume that because you're a woman you don't know any better. That's going to happen with shipping too. And I appreciated that he wasn't doing all the shenanigans and carrying on, trying to play a lot of games. His quotes were fair. They were pretty straightforward. He was very transparent with the information, and I'm talking about Mr. Johnson here with giving those estimates. And then he had multiple shipping lines that he shipped with, and allowed me to pick which one I wanted to put my items with based off what estimate I felt comfortable with. And he was able to let me know, how long they give you for the container after it clears customs, because some people are 7 days, 4 days, 10, 14 days. He will know that information up front and let you know. Also, he had connections for customs clearance, because all shipping companies don't also have a clearance agent. A lot of them will tell you, all we do is get it to the port. You're on your own once it gets over there. So I was
Mm.
blessed to find someone that was knowledgeable and that had contacts. And so he's the one who put me in touch with the person who ended up multiple companies who do the drop and pickup of containers. But the person I ended up going with was a black owned business, and that's the guy that owns Roseway.
Okay, so yes, we will. That would be the pinned comment in the description section for everyone out there.
Hmm.
So our final discussion point is going to be about repats doing or being fair with other repats. Now, what do I mean by that?
Oh my goodness.
You
Hmm.
bringing yourself from Houston, going to the Gambia. How has that experience, Coral, been for you? And would you say that as a people, we're being more collective, or are we trying to shiest each other? And I'll come back with my comments. Go ahead.
So you can, just like anywhere, you're gonna have different personalities. whether they're here in the States or whether they're abroad. You can meet anyone in any room, and some people are going to have a way of doing business with you where they basically are wanting to monetize a conversation, whereas other people who just want to help because they understand what it's like being a repat, and that your money is really needed to be able to get you over there, and they're not trying to hinder you from coming. And so they want to be transparent, they want to be helpful, but they also, have a business to run as well. So I've met both. I've met people who voluntarily want to help you, and then I've met people who want you to pay for just for answering the phone. So in my research, I would say for the Gambia, for example, I'd watched a lot of videos with the Bag family, and some other YouTubers and things that are over there, and kind of understanding what questions to ask, what their shipping experience was like, and once they got over there, how to get situated when they initially arrived. And those things very much helped me with knowing what questions that I needed to ask. And the
Mhm.
transparency that they provided with just telling people the truth about what their experience was, that really spoke to me. Because they had a child that was 16 at the time when they repatriated over there, that was starting in the 11th grade, just like I have. And then it was a daughter. And so I was looking at their page religiously, like, wow, I'm in the same boat. And so they were talking about the schools and things, and whether it was an international school with the curriculum for US education versus UK education type of platforms. And those types of things were the questions that spoke to me, being a parent transitioning with children that are school age. And then even their son, I think, and daughter were getting the driver's license when they got over there. They didn't have a driver's license from the States. And what is that experience like getting, a driver's license over there? So some of those transparent things that they were offering at no cost were things that were helping people like me who are trying to repatriate, that have questions that relate specifically to my type of situation and our type of basically the same type of setup that we're going to need when we get there. Everybody isn't repatriating with children at school age, but if you are, you have those type of questions, you really want to hear it from someone who's walking the walk, and not someone that's just saying, well, I'm over here but I don't have any kids, and so I really don't investigate, and that's not my wheelhouse, I can't really help you. I mean, that's going to happen. So I want to be that type of resource for people to be able to come and say, how did that work for you? Who'd you have to talk to? Where did I have to go? Getting registered for school, if that's what you choose to do. What are some good schools? Those are questions that are parents, that affect my tribe, basically. So I felt very akin to what they were doing. And I want to be able to do the
So I
same thing.
so I'm going to put a plug out there for all of those who are watching and those who will catch the replay. Um, a good resource is Living My Best Life in Ghana. Okay. You can reach out to them at livingmybestlifeinghana@gmail.com. Someone will get back to you, but give them time, as they have been inundated with emails. Why do I bring up this particular group? I bring up this particular group because of the mere fact is that I do not like us, Black people, that try to take advantage of other Black people. And so what I have seen just in the group
Mm-hmm.
Limblig is that people are genuine. And if they know something, they are going to tell you, i.e., just if you can see in the chat box here, Prince Kwesi said to Maki Dada about her car. That was an information that she had to call him to get information from. Now, I am all for us being entrepreneurs. However, we should not be taking advantage of newbies who are repatriating just because they are newbies and they don't have the knowledge to get the things or to take care of whatever they need to take care of. See, that's where you're wrong. So I don't fool with anybody like that. I got issues with that. So I definitely understand, but we need to be genuine with each other as we make this. This is not moving from Dallas to Houston. This is not what we're talking about. This is a serious endeavor to pack up your life, especially with children. As a single person, all I need is my pocketbook and my passport, and I can get out of here. I mean, you can, again, they're just
Right.
things. I don't have to necessarily worry about that. But someone with children, their situation is different. They're going to need a lot more information than someone like me. So we should not be charging each other like that. I recognize time is money. I recognize that. However, now if somebody's just trying to sit and hold you on the phone for 4 and 5 hours, that's something different. But if I call you and ask you, well, how much is this going to cost, etc., go ahead and give that information up. Stop trying to make money off of every person you meet. Trust me. You see, I believe in the law of karma. I'm not a religious person at all. Religion is made to control people, but I am a free thinker. So the crap you do while you are here on earth, the circle has to make 360 degrees of life. So you don't think it's going to come back today, maybe not even 2 years from now. But when the circle finally decides to complete all the crap you've been giving out, which includes myself that I've done years earlier, you're going to get it back. You don't know how it's going to affect you. So when you're trying to get over on people, you're going to get it back eventually. Now, I can't pinpoint when, but you are. But again, the plug is livingmybestlife.in Ghana@gmail.com. Power or Future will come back to you, or even Shay, to let you know how to get in. But they are a good resource. You consistently share information with people. And I share, I mean, you and I, for you all out there, Coral is not in Limb League. However, we have exchanged information. I have a contact here that she has been in contact with to assist her for her time there in the Gambia. I'm not charging for that. I'm not charging for that. So as we make these maneuvers to go into different countries, we need to be a resource for everyone. I'm not saying to call a power up and sit and hold him on the phone for 3 and 4 hours. That's not what I'm saying. But if he has information, he is free-hearted. He's willing to give you what he knows. And so is his wife, as well as the people in the group. Okay, so that is important. So when we talk about having a network, there you go. There you go. Right there. So I just wanted to say that. And especially you being, Coral, being a single mother, if you have to pay for information every time you have a question, of course, that's going to become costly unless you rolling in,
that's a lot.
Some of these superstar money, unless you rolling in some of this superstar money.
And that is not the case.
We want to do right by one another. We are all people of melanated descent. We should not be sitting around here trying to scam each other. And the first when I catch that you're not solid, I'm through with you. So you see, I don't have time to play with you. Okay. I don't know, if I have 30 more years left on planet Earth or not, but I don't have the time. The minute I find out that you're not solid, I'm through. It's as simple as that. I'm just that black and white.
Yeah.
Okay. So
far, so good for me.
Yes. Okay. And so Savvy Entrepreneur here says, Lizzabitty, speak facts. What you put out, you're going to get back. We have to hear. Yes, we do. And it's unfortunate that a lot of us are trying to basically monetize simple stuff. But again, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. Okay.
Pay for information, pay for everything you ask.
Yes. So, anyway, I want to thank you, Coral, for joining us here today and being candid about your shipping experience, giving us a Black-owned company that aided you in that. And we're going to link that in the comment section for everyone so that you can have that as a resource. Be sure to come back. And if you have to replay that portion where she was talking about the shipping, you can do that. And there you go. But again, if you want to join a like-minded family that is about assisting each other, investing in each other, collective and group economics, then Limb League is where you want to be. Living my best life in Ghana@gmail.com. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, they going to Ghana. Well, Future is working on making different, let's say, cubes in different countries. We have Brother Jay in Tanzania. Of course, they will all be ran through Living My Best Life in Ghana, because we have to take care of our elders. We don't want you sitting up here calling Brother Jay and him and his wife all times a day, getting on people's last nerve. Because I know some of you all folks. Anywho, I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for all the
So for the
information that you have
Gambia,
given the viewers.
same thing.
Go ahead.
I was saying in the Gambia, like you said, with Limblade, Invest Relation Africa, executive director, that team is assisting myself and my family with getting transition, and he's pretty plugged over there with helping with everything from housing when you first get there, helping with flights. I believe he just assisted Phoenix Rain with coming over with her ticket, and she had done an interview where she was saying, he really, completely took over that situation for her and helped her get over there because she was having a problem with the ticketing and whatnot. So there are people on the ground in these countries. If you can get in the right circles, like you were saying, get in the right Facebook groups and Instagram, and talking to the people who are on the ground there, who have some things in place to assist with repats getting to whatever destination that you're going to. I recommend you do the research, find out if these people are legit, trying to help others, or if they're just trying to make a lot of money off the repats. Some people are, some people aren't. It's just a matter of taking the time to do that research.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for joining us again, Coral. And I wish you and your girls all the best and all your successes going to the Gambia. And you must go live with the Bag family. Okay. You must go
Okay,
live.
listen,
Go
let's
live with
talk
the Bag
about that
family.
really briefly. I am not at 1,000 subscribers yet. I'm just now learning about StreamYard. And so I definitely am trying
Okay,
to
so
get
then
my
you have
YouTube
to tell
page.
Rick or a sweet juicy mama they got to go live on their channel with you on there so they can
Yes,
see you.
I need to get my subscribers up. So for
Yes.
my
So be sure to
subscription
go
for
over to
YouTube, I'm
Coral
trying to
and
get to
Kids
1,000 for live stream.
Repats. Coral and Kids
Yes,
Repats
please
is
go
her
like and
channel.
subscribe.
Yes.
And it's the same on
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are all Coral and Kids Repats. Please go like and subscribe, watch and support us so that we're able to get to those 1,000 subscribers. We were trying to get to it this month before we leave and live stream our flight and everything. So
Yes.
we'll get there. We'll upload it if
Definitely.
we can't
And I
live
look
stream.
forward to it. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I will bid you adieu. And we will take it
Awesome.
out with our outro. Here we go.